Hi, I'm Kurt Streeter. I'm a reporter at the Los Angeles Times, and I'm sitting with a very special gentleman this afternoon, a gentleman by the name of Vern Watkins, who I profiled in a Sunday story this past weekend. Vern was at the March on Washington 50 years ago Wednesday, and that's why we have Vern with us. Vern, welcome. And if you could just tell us, Vern, a little bit about that day and what it was like for you to be in the crowd that day. You were a young man, 24 years old at the time, from Detroit.
Well, we went to the march, my brother and I, basically to see A. Philip Randolph and Banner Rushton, and the question
And
then,
these, by the way, they're prominent black
labor.
labor leaders and organizers of the march.
Yes, yes. And the question during that time, we're going through the frustration, was about jobs and health care and dignity. A lot of stuff was going on in the South, but not necessarily, reaching Detroit. King came into Detroit in June, and that was a big march in Detroit. And at the time, I was taking some classes. I was in school and working and struggling on my job. And so I thought it was necessary, just needed an uplift. And at the last minute, we decided that we just needed to be in that number.
So it was about jobs for you.
It was about jobs. It was about dignity. It was about being recognized for who you were, and so forth. That was the issue.
And the thing that people think back to that day, they always think of the "I Have a Dream" speech, which was a fantastic moment in American history. And if you could tell me a little bit about, you're sitting there in the crowd, and all of a sudden, Preacher King stands up and he gives this great oratory. What was that like for you?
Uh, it was sort of like being in church, and we sort of, when the Southern preachers and everything talk, they sort of had a rhythm. We kind of said, that's, we're a little bit ahead in Detroit. But we had to identify with those things that were going on in the South because they kept happening over and over again.
What did he say that specifically resonated with you and in that speech?
Uh, he said, I have a dream. And we looked at each other and said, we're not dreaming, we're awake. We don't want to go through this. We want it now. I was young, and we were struggling, and the whole thing is to be recognized for who we were. And so when somebody talked about dreaming, and we're saying, wake up, let's do it now. We wanted now. All of those things that were happening in housing and so forth was affecting us, and our jobs weren't, as secure as we wanted them to be.
So you came away from that day very energized, and you went on to what would turn out to be an absolutely amazing career as a union leader here in the Los Angeles area and in California and even across the nation. So the focus for your life became jobs and labor, and also equality. When looking back now on 50 years later, what have we achieved what was set out that day, the goals and the dream? How does that square with the reality of today?
Well, it's kind of frustrating because as those coalitions formed in the 60s and the 70s and so forth, it sort of all fell apart. No, that was a sense of, I'm for me and by myself. I don't need anybody. I'm going to do it. It's frustrating to see what's happening with voting rights. That's thing. It's frustrating to see this attack on women. It's frustrating to see the immigration problem.
And what about specifically jobs?
And
particularly in Black America, since the march was specifically for Black rights and jobs and dignity, the unemployment situation in Black America.
Well, the unemployment situation I think, is twice as bad, maybe 3 times as bad. The jobs are not there.
Okay. Thanks very much for showing up and talking to us today, Vern. We greatly appreciate it. And If you'd like to learn more about the March on Washington, please tune into latimes.com and also read the paper for our coverage on the entire event and the 50th anniversary.